Hey guys, welcome back to more political chatter. Today we will be talking about some breaking news that we have from the state of Texas that is sure to shake up the 2026 Senate race there, one that will absolutely be crucial for the Democrats when it comes to taking back control of the US Senate. So this breaking news is that the state rep, James Talarico, who has gone absolutely viral on social media in recent months, he's a Christian, he's actually a pastor. He will launch a bid for US Senate on Tuesday. He will officially launch his bid on Tuesday. He will be running for US Senate in the state of Texas. Now, this is huge. I've been saying for a while, Democrats absolutely need James Talarico to win this race for them here in Texas. He's absolutely the strongest candidate, in my opinion. I'm sure you have seen at least some of his videos. He's a pastor, he's from Austin, he's a state rep, and he has really been outspoken against not only Donald Trump and conservatism, but he's been really outspoken against Christian nationalism, even as a devout Christian himself. He really just adds a quite a, unique, sort of standpoint from the Democratic Party that we don't see often from the party. The Democratic Party, as diverse as it is, that typically leads Democratic candidates to not really talk about religion, even if they are religious. James Talarico has made his religion a forefront of his political career, and I'm sure he will in the state of Texas, and that absolutely will be used to his advantage. If James Talarico wins the Democratic nomination, him versus Ken Paxton is exactly what the Democrats need in this race. Ken Paxton is the Attorney General. He is very far right. He is, a strong ally, a devout ally to Donald Trump, and he is primarying the incumbent senator, John Cornyn, in the state of Texas. John Cornyn is running for another term. He has been in office since 2002. Ken Paxton, the attorney general, is trying to mount a primary bid against him. And when you look at the polling, it looks like Ken Paxton, as of now, is going to pull it off. In the most recent poll, he's ahead by 3. Before that, in Ecolon, he's ahead by 5. He was down by 1 in Emerson. That's literally the only poll where Ken Paxton is down, where John Cornyn is leading. Out of all these polls that you see here, Ken Paxton leads in every one except one. I mean, he has gigantic leads in some of these. 17 points in this internal poll, 16 points here, 17 points here. It's just absolutely insane, some of these leads that we're seeing for Ken Paxton, and it looks like as of now he is on track to win. But my point is, if you don't know Ken, or if you do know Ken Paxton and you don't live in Texas, it's probably because of his scandals. Ken Paxton is always involved in scandal after scandal after scandal. He recently just got divorced from his wife because he had an affair. Point being, he's one of, I mean, every Texas Republican runs on Christianity, runs on quote unquote Christian values. And it works most of the time because it's Texas and whatever voters believe that sort of thing. But I mean, the sort of juxtaposition between someone like James Talarico, a pastor, both these candidates will run on Christianity. James Talarico and Ken Paxton in very different ways. Ken Paxton will use Christianity to implement policy. He will run on Christian sort of nationalist policy. James Talarico will sort of use it as a moral standpoint, to explain where he's coming from when it comes to taking ideological positions, right? Gun violence, LGBTQ rights, all that sort of stuff. So they will use it in very different ways. But even still, that juxtaposition between someone like James Talarico, a very earnest, a very honest guy, you could tell he's not, I mean, I don't know, but he could be corrupt, who knows, with these politicians. But he certainly seems like an honest, sort of anti corruption sort of guy, very earnest guy. Compare that with Ken Paxton. He'll run on Christianity. Meanwhile, he's involved in all of these scandals, all of these affairs. As his political career has been known for scandals, and that's it. So that sort of juxtaposition, I think, will really be apparent in the general election, And it's something that will not only just discourage Republicans from supporting Ken Paxton, but it really might switch some Republicans to vote for the Democrat, James Talarico, in the Senate race. But first things first, James Talarico has to get through this Democratic primary. Colin Allred, who was the nominee in 2024, he lost by what, 11 percentage points or something. Oh, 8. Okay. He lost by 8.5% when Harris lost the state by 13 or 12 or something. So he significantly overperformed the national Democratic ticket, but it was not enough in 2024. Will it be enough in 2026? I highly doubt he could overcome his 8-point loss in 2024 just 2 years later. If I was a Democrat in Texas, I would strongly warn against nominating Colin Allred for this seat. I would advocate for nominating James Talarico for this seat. He has proven, just in his state house district, he has proven to be extremely electorally strong. And obviously, he has not run for statewide office, but out of the potential candidates, James Talarico, Colin Allred, and Beto O'Rourke, as well as Joaquin Castro as well, I would bet on James Talarico. Um, and that would be, so it's always good to nominate, candidates when they don't have any statewide elected office. Or not that it's good, but it's always interesting to see it, and often it turns out better than you'd think. So, James Talarico, the state rep running for U.S. Senate, that could be huge. And again, Texas, I can't stress enough. Whoops, I can't stress enough how important Texas is for Democrats reclaiming majority in the Senate in 2026. There are about 45, basically safe seats. There's some likely seats mixed in there, but we know they're voting Democrat. So 45 seats that we know are voting Democrat, 47 that we know are voting Republican for sure. Iowa looking more and more like it is falling out of that characterization. We'll see how that changes. But anyway, and then there are 8 release seats. They're not exactly toss ups, as labeled here, but we generally, they're in the realm of possibility where they could go. They could go either way. One party may be favored, but it is in the realm of possibility that the other party does, in fact, win on election day. So, key for Democrats would be holding Michigan. They're obviously going to have to hold other seats. So, holding Michigan and holding John Ossoff's seat in Georgia. It would also mean flipping Susan Collins' seat in Maine if Graham Plattner is the nominee. That will not be a challenge at all. He would win by probably double digits as of now. It would require Roy Cooper flipping North Carolina. He is absolutely favored there. So those are the 4 seats. This is my current prediction here. I think that these 4 seats will go Democratic. The rest, unlabeled, will go Republican. But if Democrats were to take control of the Senate, this is how it would go. It would go with those 4 seats. It would then, where do you look? Alaska, Trump won it by 13. Ohio, Trump won it by 11. Nebraska, you've got Dan Osborne, the independent, but Trump won it by 20. Texas, Trump won it by 13. So you've got Alaska, Texas, and Ohio that are all about the same margin for Donald Trump. But when you look at the trend in 2024, when you compare 2020 to 2024, you'll notice that it was Texas that got significantly more Republican compared to the others. Alaska became Republican by only 3 points, shifted to the right by only 3 points. Ohio by 3, Nebraska by 1. But look at Texas. It shifted to the right by 8% in the state of Texas, meaning this is, I'm not saying that this is a rapidly trending right state. I do not think that. When you look at the trend from, even 2012 to 2024, Texas actually became more Republican or became more Democratic. There's not a lot of states that could say that. Texas did become more Democratic, but what I'm saying with this 20 to 24 trend is that it really was an anomaly. And I believe that there is a stronger Democratic base in this state, in a midterm election especially, with higher propensity voters than what the 2024 results would indicate. I think that there were many voters, Hispanic voters especially in Texas, who voted for Donald Trump this one time, but are not going to vote Republican probably ever again in their life, that are certainly not going to turn out for the Republican candidate in the 2026 midterms, especially with the current state of Trump's immigration policy, with the massive, with the massive deportations and the especially the extreme, sort of violent attitude that ICE is bringing as well towards immigration. So, point being, Texas 2024 was something of an anomaly. And again, it shouldn't really, you shouldn't really, make a whole idea in your head about Texas politics based off of that one presidential election. And I mean that honestly. Why is this not working? Why can't it bring up president? There we go. So, point being, Texas is winnable in 2024, and if you're a Democrat and you're looking at the path to majority in the Senate of these four states, you're looking at Texas. You're looking at Texas next. To get to 51, I would say Ohio or Alaska. I would say Alaska. Alaska is one where it's easier to pull off an upset, to pull off a like off the radar sort of surprise win there in Alaska. A smaller population, you could reach more voters. If there's a discrepancy between Democratic and Republican turnout in this state, then it matters drastically more than in a state with a larger population like Ohio, where it sort of evens out more. Yeah, so I would look to Alaska as well with Mary Peltola there. Then I would put whatever, Ohio, Nebraska, Republican. So this is great news for the Democratic Party there in Texas. So thank you all for watching this video. I hope you all enjoyed. Make sure to subscribe down below if you haven't already. That helps out a lot. Drop a comment to let me hear your thoughts on this, and I will see you all later.